Hi again, everyone. I'm Dan Rebeck, Product Line Manager for Transtector. Transtector has been a leading provider of surge protection since 1967 and actually pioneered data line surge protection in the 90s. So today we're going to be focusing on technology called Power over Ethernet. Let's get to it. First, let's take a look at the ALPU. This is the outdoor unit. Well, the first thing we notice when we open the box is this very compact, ergonomic, and custom designed enclosure. And we're going to get into that in a little bit later. But first, let's talk about the primary purpose for this unit. So this is an Ethernet / Power over Ethernet surge protector. It actually passes data rates all the way up to Gigabit Ethernet and power levels all the way up to PoE++. Now, Transtector specializes in hybrid surge protection. We actually pioneered the use of the silicon avalanche diode for surge protection. The topology that we use in this protector is a gas discharge tube from each line to ground, which is a very high capacity device. And we also implement silicon avalanche diodes line to line. And that's what helps us really clamp that voltage tightly to make sure that equipment isn't ever seeing a voltage highly exceeds its operating voltage. All right. We actually isolate the shield conductor on the RJ45 from the ground conductor. The reason for that is if you ground it on both ends, and let's say you have a 100-meter long cable, what can happen is you can actually have different potentials at each end, and you can have stray voltages and currents flowing in your ground and in your shield, which is not ideal. All right. So what we do is we isolate those conductors, but we also put a dedicated gas discharge tube element in between, so that naturally the shield is going to collect a lot of that lightning energy. This dedicated 20,000 amp 8 by 20 microsecond gas tube provides that safe path when the transient occurs, and then immediately goes back to isolation, which again supports those grounding and EMI shielding best practices. And one thing you'll notice in this enclosure first is there's a wiring grommet that is actually over molded to the base of the enclosure. Now there's several reasons why this is a good advantage. Number one, if you're up on a tower, you don't need your grommet flying off and falling 200 feet to the ground, okay? The next is, based on our military experience, realize that using conformal coating on the circuit board assembly is a highly effective way not just to manage humidity, but also salt fog and protect against corrosion, okay? Now, you may have noticed that there's also a little packet of lube that comes inside here. And what this is dielectric lube. Now, what that's for is to dress your RJ45 plugs when you install them into the jacks. Now you have a complete tunnel of weatherization through here, right? So every metal conductor is protected from that potential corrosion. All right, now another great feature in terms of ease of installation is we designed this saddle on the back here. This allows you to put any type of typical standard hose clamp. This can also very easily be mounted to a wall using these holes, and then we provide also a ground lug for your ground connection. All right, one last thing is this enclosure is molded with UV resistant material. So even exposure to direct sunlight over many years, the case will never become brittle and crack.
And that's the Transtector ALPU-Fit, engineered for real-world surge protection.